Hello my dear sewing friends, it's Alisa here with Thoughtful Creativity, and I'm here with another yet super quick and easy sewing and drafting tutorial. This one is actually so easy that it only has 6 seams and then finishing touches like a neckband and the hem and the sleeves. And other than that, it's really straightforward. This one is to kick off my French inspired mini capsule that I'm working on right now. So we're making this super classy Breton top. Now this is a basic make, however a super versatile one, so don't be discouraged by the fact that, oh well, it's simple. It's simple, but that's the beauty of it, because then you can modify it in so many ways. You can make it into a t-shirt dress, you can add peplum, you can add ruffles, you can make it short sleeve. I mean, possibilities are endless. As for the fabric that you will need, I'm using rayon lycra jersey knit. However, you can use anything that stretches, because that's the main property of this garment. It has to be stretchy. So anything that stretches and has either 2-way stretch or 4-way stretch, whichever. And then other than that, you won't need much. You know, you don't need any zippers or interfacing or anything like that. You will need some thread for your sewing machine or for your serger. And if you are using a sewing machine, then you will need needles that go either with knit or jersey or ballpoint needles for anything that stretches. So definitely make sure that you have that, and let's get started with the measurements. And for the measurements, you only need just a few as well, so this is really quick and easy. So for the first measurement, we're going to start with the actual length of the garment, and as always, we'll measure that on the back. You're going to take your measuring tape, you're going to place it on the center back neckline, and then you're going to drop it all the way to your tailbone. Once that is done, put your finger on the measurement, take it away, and that is going to go on your pattern paper, and for me, that's 21 inches. So your next measurement is also really easy and straightforward, but we're going to measure 3 of them to determine which one we're going to use. We're going to measure your bust, your waist, and your hips at the tailbone, but I want you to use only the biggest one of them. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your measuring tape, you're going to measure bust, you're going to measure waist, and you're going to measure hips at the tailbone. All right, you took all 3 measurements, determined which one is the biggest one. Now take that measurement and divide it by 4. So we want to use just quarter of that measurement, and we're going to use it for the shoulder line and for the bottom of our pattern. So pretty much we're building a rectangle where one side is going to be the length of the actual pattern, which for me was 21 inches, and for you will be your length. And then the quarter of your biggest measurement is going to be the other side of the rectangle. And once that is done, just complete it, and then we will move forward with the other measurements. Now, about the neckline, I always take 3.5 inches to the right for half of the width of my neckline, and then 2.5 inches down for the depth of my neckline. Now, you can take the measurements that you would like, or maybe you can copy a t-shirt that you already have and you really like the way the neckline is done there. But my biggest tip for you guys is you can always start with a smaller neckline and cut it away in case if you want it to be wider, but you can't do the other way around, right? You can't add more fabric to it in case if you did cut it bigger than you wanted. So definitely always start smaller, because you can always make it bigger. Now, from the edge of the neckline, you're going to take 1 inch up, and then from the edge of the shoulder line, you're going to take 1 inch down, and then you're going to connect those 2 points with a straight line to create a new shoulder line. Now, complete the back and the front neckline with a dashed curved line. For the armhole, the measurement is really straightforward. You're going to take your measuring tape, you're going to place it like so, and then you're going to take that measurement. Now here's a little tip. You don't want to take that measurement super tight, right? You want to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room, so that way the whole top looks organic, because the body of the top is going to have a little bit of wiggle room. It's going to be nice and flowy, not too oversized, but nice and flowy. So you want the sleeve to feel the same way as the body of the top. So I took 14 inches, which if we divide it in half will be 7 inches. So let me show you a little bit of a visual how it looks. So for me, 14 inches looks like this. So you see there's a little bit of wiggle room right over here. That's what we're going to put on our pattern paper. This next step is really tiny. You can skip it if you want to, but I find that this little tiny maneuver makes the top so much easier to sew and so much better when you put it on as well. We're gonna actually extend the bodice into this tiny beginning of the sleeve. Now, we're gonna do that by extending the shoulder line by 1/2 inch, and then we're gonna extend the bottom of the armhole by 1/2 inch as well. I'm gonna let you watch on the video what am I doing here. It's really easy and straightforward. I'm just gonna curve the bottom and extend the top. And after that, we're gonna construct the sleeve. Now for the sleeve, to measure the length of the sleeve for the drop shoulder top, there's a little tip, and this is what I do. So you take your measuring tape and you're going to place it on the very edge of the neckline where the neckline will start for your top. And then you take it and you stretch it all the way. Then you determine how long of a sleeve you want. So let's say 25 inches in this case. Now the 25 inches is the distance from the edge of the neckline all the way down to the edge of the sleeve. Now, on your pattern, measure the shoulder line of your drafted bodice, right? And then take these 25 inches or whatever is the measurement that you took and minus that length of the shoulder line. Then you will get the actual length of the sleeve for the drop shoulder top, because obviously when you have a drop shoulder top, you're measuring your sleeve in a little bit of a different manner, since your sleeve is not going to start at the shoulder line, but a lot lower. To measure the wrist, you will take your measuring tape, put it around your wrist, give yourself maybe a little bit of wiggle room if you want to, and take half of that measurement, and that's what's gonna go on your pattern paper. The wider opening of your sleeve is going to be the same width as the armhole opening of your bodice. Now to complete the sleeve, you can either do that with a straight line or you can curve it a little bit to eliminate excess fabric on the bottom of the sleeve. Now that you have done all the markings and the directions of the stretch and what goes in the fold and how many pieces to cut, I want you to cut out just the pattern piece of the bodice. Leave the sleeve as it is. Now, once you've done that, take your sleeve and align it with the shoulder line of the bodice to make sure that they go under the same angle. Make sure that the edge of the sleeve matches the edge of the shoulder line. Now, mark the bottom placement of the armhole of the bodice on top of the sleeve. Connect the two dots and cut away the excess. Now your sleeve is ready to be cut. Now onto the sewing part, and before we do get into the sewing, I want to remind you, when you're cutting your fabric, remember, all self-drafted patterns that I do tutorials for on my YouTube channel, I don't include any seam allowances, neither do I include any allowances for the hem, split hem, curved hem, or anything else like that. So you want to make sure that you add seam allowances to your pattern or as you're cutting, and you add enough fabric for the hem and for the hem of the sleeves as well. Now place the front and the back of your top right sides together, pin the shoulder seams, and then stitch them together. Now let's move on to the sleeves. Take your sleeves and find the center of each one of them. Then open up your top and match the center of the sleeve with the shoulder seam of your top. Make sure that the pattern pieces are right sides together, pin them in place, and then sew them. Now you will complete the sleeve and the side seam as one continuous seam. Definitely pin them in place to make sure that all the stripes, if you're sewing with striped fabric, will match up, and make sure that the underarm seam matches nicely as well. And then let's stitch it. And this is how it looks when it's all done. After repeating this on both sides of the top, you can complete the hem of the sleeves and the hem of the top itself. I have completed both of those with my cover stitch machine. However, you can do that on a sewing machine, on a serger, or simply add a band as well. Next, let's finish up the neckband, and for that you're going to take your measuring tape, you're going to measure the actual length of the neckline, and you're going to use 80% of that length for the length of your neckband. The width of your neckband is going to be 2 inches, which is going to give you 1 inch on the fold. After that, once the neckband is cut, you will sew the short side of the neckband. Then you will mark the placement of the center front and center back of the neckline on the top, and then you will align the neckband with the top, and then you will stretch it in place as you sew it. And congratulations, you did it. Your top is ready. It was pretty straightforward and pretty easy, right? I'm so happy that you tagged along on this journey of sewing and drafting this super simple yet classy Breton top. If you're new here and you haven't seen any other tutorials that I have quite a few, so definitely check them out right over here. Until next time, happy, thoughtful sewing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!